rid of Amorim would be a mistake. Yeah, I think you need to give him more time.
You think he's good enough to win the Premier League?
He was one of the most sought-after managers before he went to United.
Does that mean United couldn't have got it wrong?
Well, who do you have instead? At the start of the season, when we played Arsenal, you were on radio saying that we played really well. Now, all of a sudden, we've had a bit of a tricky spell. We're still playing players...
No, it's not a tricky spell. It's a tricky tenure. He's nearly been there a year, and in that year...
A year is nothing. Really, a year is nothing.
I want to see something.
No,
I've seen nothing. Have you seen anything in that year? What have you seen in the year?
Absolutely, I have.
What?
Absolutely, I have.
Go on.
We played really well in the Europa League.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
No, we
got
didn't.
To the final, mate.
And how did we play in that final?
Yeah, we played awful in the final, but we still got to the final, my friend. I just think it's a bit reactionary.
I've had 12 months to react to it.
So we sack him now, right?
Yeah.
You get your wish.
Yeah.
You want Glasner.
Yeah. Who's a better coach?
Who's a better coach, Glasner or Amorim?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Amorim. I'm sticking by him.
Okay.
Welcome back to Killing the Game. And brain rot. Brain rot is what was creeping in that minute or so there. I want to go back to the beginning. Okay, by the way, we've got big Arsenal clip, big Liverpool clip to come on the show as well. Hit like button, subscribe, share, do all of those wonderful things, please. Get that done right now. Get it out the way. Let's go back to the beginning, though. I want to play the beginning part again. And it's almost everything that's wrong with the current Man United discourse, in my personal opinion.
I think getting rid of Amorim would be a mistake. Yeah, I think you need to give him more time.
You think he's good enough to win the Premier League?
He was one of the most sought-after managers before he went to United.
Does that mean United couldn't have got it wrong?
Well, who do you have instead?
Right there. So this is, you're almost looking at the Amorim outers and the Amorim inners. Do I have to explain my stance again? I'll do it in case you're new. So when I speak Amorim inners and when I speak Amorim outers, I'm talking about the absolute polarized individuals in both groups. So if you're someone that's in left of center in or right of center out, which or the other way around, doesn't really matter which, I don't consider you an inner or an outer. I consider you to have an opinion, and I consider you to have balance. You can see merit in the other side's argument, but you feel that removing him or keeping him is best for the club, but you see merit. I don't put you in the inner and outer category. I reserve that for the polarized individuals that won't hear the other side. And in those opening 10 seconds, you heard so much of it there. Tell me about a manager. It's just to try and catch you off guard unless you haven't thought about it, as an example, or to try and belittle you into saying something silly. Oh, you think Glasner, he's never managed at this level. You think Xavi, well, he didn't keep his job at Barcelona. It's a bit of a loaded question because they're already prepared to shit on any suggestions that you have. And that's it. You can almost name any manager and they're going to shit on it, okay? Not be balanced. So I don't like that, okay? Although I will ask people, okay, if you want a manager sacked, who would you like to come in? I want to listen and I want to understand what they want. There's balance there. The other end of the spectrum is what you hear. Go back and listen to Andy Goldstein again.
Getting rid of Amorim would be a mistake. Yeah, I think you need to give him more time.
You think he's good enough to win the Premier League?
You think he's good enough to win the Premier League? That right there, though, from an outer perspective, is far too extreme. Because I don't necessarily think the next manager we pick at the forefront of our mind should be, is this new manager, is this new head coach good enough to win the Premier League? I can understand that train of thought. Well, we want a guy that is good enough to win it, Terry, because we want to get back to that level. The first thing we've got to achieve is becoming harder to beat, be able to win more games, be more competitive in football matches. We need that base and foundation whilst the squad is being built, whilst the culture is being repaired, whilst hopefully a resilient and winning mentality returns to the club. Going straight to, do you think you can win us the Premier League? Forget that he's debating about Amorim. Because you can then use that in reverse on, well, who would you bring in? Glasner, you think he could win the Premier League? There is no evidence that he can. He never won a league title. Xavi, there is more evidence he could win the league because he won the Liga. But then you can counter it very easily with saying, do we have we don't have a financial monopoly over 18 of the other clubs. We don't have the technical ability that Barca's players had. Would his system even work? Areola, again, what's he won? What league titles is he won? There's always an argument, but these arguments for me are always very disingenuous or a little straw man-like. They're an attempt to catch people out. And I will say this, that I get accused of that sometimes, and I'm probably guilty of it sometimes, and I'm trying to do better because I think it is killing the game. I think it is killing the conversation. When you're on my shows, I'm going to ask these questions, but it's because I want to understand you. It isn't about just trying to catch you up. I may say, what do you say to people that would say X, would say Y, because I want to understand your view on these things. But these kind of conversations, I think, are horrendous for football. I really, really do. Because what did we learn here? Absolutely nothing. Did we find common ground? No. Poor, poor, poor. Give me your views. Give me your opinions on this conversation right now. Let's go over to Jamie O'Hara here to take a little listen to what he said. Listen, by the way, it's 5 to 6 days since Arsenal's brilliant performance against Newcastle. Listen to the anger still in this man's voice.
You can't be the favourites. You ain't won the Premier League since 2004.
The bookies.
I don't care what the bookies say.
Jamie,
You beat the bookies, didn't you, mate? You know.
Just telling you.
It doesn't matter when we last won it. You're looking at form this season.
I'm looking at the form.
So this is what's funny, right? When Tottenham are in good form, he talks about why they should be considered in the race. Why can't they win it? With Arsenal, he's fuming. But he was about to say, I have seen the form, though. Let's take a little listen.
You last won it. You're looking at form this season.
I'm looking at the form. Who are top?
We're playing better football than Liverpool.
Who's top?
By one lucky free kick.
Who's top?
Lucky free kick.
Who's top?
Well, that's what I'm saying, Jamie.
Look how angry the man is.
Will you say that
Who's
Arsenal
top?
are favourites?
See, what they're now doing with Arsenal is they've gone away from performances. So when Arsenal have a couple of performances that are not quite right, they say performances is how you judge the potential winner of the Premier League. Now that Arsenal's performances are starting to turn, the proverbial handbrake is off, the team is looking far more dangerous. Suddenly now it's, right, we've got to go back to results-based analysis because in this moment, Liverpool are still top. But being top after 6 games doesn't necessarily make you the favourites. I remember many moons ago, Wimbledon being top after a few games. We've seen Brighton and other teams like that in recent years top after 3 or 4 games. Doesn't make you the favourites at that point. Performance does.
Liverpool by 2 points,
Okay.
but they won't be after this weekend.
But, okay, right now, Liverpool are the favourites. They've won.
Okay,
They're
so
top of
will
the
you
league,
say the
and they
same
won the
next
Premier League
weekend
last
about
season.
Arsenal?
What?
Will you say the same next weekend if Arsenal are top of the league?
No, I won't.
So his whole lot, this is what I mean. This is what I talk about killing the game. This is what I talk about. It's never someone's opinions that I have an issue with. I have to understand your logic before I agree or disagree with you, or think whether or get even get into a point in my own mind where I think you're talking sense. So, for instance, we'll go back to Man United for a moment. If someone says I need Amorim gone, I say, okay, why? Why in your view? Not why because I don't understand, but I want you to explain it. The win percentage, I don't like how he plays. He's too stubborn. He isn't going to make us any better. Okay. You got any ideas of the kind of manager and style that you would like to play next? Well, why does that matter? Well, I just want to understand what you want. I'm trying to understand you as a football fan. I'll probably go 4-3-3 and get Xavi. Okay, talented manager. How do you think we'd cope with 4 at the back? What would you do about the fact we have no out-and-out left wingers at the club, as an example? Well, why are you asking me these questions? Because I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to understand how much you think we'd improve. I'm trying to understand what you gauge as fair improvement for you to get behind a manager. As soon as someone starts pushing back, you straight away know that they're agenda-based. You straight away know. As soon as they get angry at questions, you know it's agenda-based. Now, if the questions are loaded and every time they're answering, I'm interjecting and trying to shut them down, have a pop at me. And I'm trying to do a better job of that because I've also been guilty of it. And I can't sit here and do these shows killing the game and then be guilty of the same thing. So if I'm doing it, call me out for it because I want to be better, okay? The same thing here with this logic. It's you can't be top favourites because Liverpool are top. You can't be favourites because Liverpool are top. You can't be favourites because Liverpool are top. So if Arsenal end up top this weekend, will we be favourites? No. It's just your whole logic falls down and falls apart. Let's see what he says. Let's see what he says.
You can't do it, can you?
No, I won't do it.
There
I won't.
you go, Cundy. There you go.
No,
Thank you.
Wayne, look, don't listen to Cundy. I'm telling you straight, mate. Arsenal can't be the favourites until you've won the Premier League.
TalkSPORT bets.
That's like saying to your daughter, you can't have a boyfriend until you're married. This is the thing. If O'Hara says, I don't care about the betting odds, personally, I don't care whether Liverpool are top or Arsenal are top after 6 games, 7 games. I care about the fact I think it's going to be a close race. And I think in the end, Liverpool, with their know-how, with the experience of their players, the manager and players that have won league titles, I think they'll pip them, or they'll just have enough to edge them. That is a fair and honest opinion. But the logic has changed. First of all, you can't be favourites because you're not top right now. Liverpool are. What if Arsenal top? No, I can't make you favourites until after you've won I can't make you favourites until you've won it, which makes no sense because he said that Spurs were the favourites against Man United in the Europa League final, I believe, and they hadn't won the European trophy in, 40-odd years. So it's just one of those crazy, crazy situations again where it's honest. You can see his anger. You can see his frustration. You can see how much this last couple of weeks of Arsenal has broken this man. He's petrified of Arsenal. He's terrified of what they might achieve. And he can't even bring himself to have an honest and a fair conversation. And as I've stated, none of us are, I already know 10 minutes into this bit of content that there'll be people saying, Terry, but I've heard you jump in and interject with people, and I've heard you do this, and I've heard you do... And I hold my hands up. I don't pretend to be perfect. I don't pretend that I haven't made mistakes. I haven't lost my temper on streams. I change my mind on certain subjects. But for me, I'm just getting to this point where I want to try and make... When people say things on the terrace and I'm asking them questions, I promise you this, I'm doing it to seek information. I'm trying to keep people fair and honest. I want the same to me. If you think I've said something that's, like yesterday, you had Mo call me out and say, well, Terry, I don't know why you're not going in on Wirtz. I know why you're not going in on Wirtz is because you never used to go in on Jack Grealish. So why would you go in on Wirtz? Well, I did go in on Jack Grealish. Remember, I used to call him Luke Skywalker, and people remembered that. It's one of these things. I don't mind being challenged, but he listened to the response and went, actually, that's right, that's fair, and we moved on. But it's because you can have a bit of banter and have a pop at each other, but it's about listening to those responses. And I think we've got to do a better job as football fans, including me, because I think the more we behave like this, the more we're going to kill the game, the more we're going to kill the discourse. And I think we enjoy the conversation. Talking about football after the fact, before games, I think is every bit as important as the games itself. To take a little look here, continuing, we're moving on to Liverpool here, but take a look at this clip.
Wirtz, he is the worst Premier League signing in history. He is one of the worst Liverpool signings ever. He's done absolutely nothing. He's gone 009. Not one goal, not one assist in 9 games. He should be thrown out of the squad for the next 6 weeks, in my opinion.
I've just got to stop it. I've got to stop it there because he isn't the worst signing in history for Liverpool or in the Premier League. It's too early to make that conclusion. I get that rivals want to go in, and this is where I implore fans of their own club. You'll get some people say, no, Terry, fans should speak up. They should stand on business. They should say what they think. They shouldn't hold back. They shouldn't do any kind of I'm calm gimmicks. It should always be the unadulterated truth. The problem with viewing things in that way with this situation is, one, is it going to help Wirtz get better? 2, is it even true? 3, is it even fair to make a conclusion at this point? And 4, the man isn't using facts. So he actually does have an assist in the first game in the Community Shield, if we're going to be factual about this. But let's not pretend that the reason that he doesn't have some assists is because players have missed big chances. His chance creation is actually the highest in the Premier League. The highest. That shouldn't be ignored. And in the game against, I don't remember who it was against now. I want to say it was Everton. There was a couple of times where he set Mo Salah out. One time he hit the post as an example. Should be burying it. He'd have those numbers. The issue with this is the problem. The 007 thing was done against Jadon Sancho. Everybody jumped on it as great banter, ripped into him, ripped into Man United. I think it was one of the reasons that he fouled at the club, because the pressure that built up. But the Man United fans have held on to it. And then as soon as they had the opportunity to do it to an Arsenal or a Chelsea or a Liverpool player, they've done it. And it's now just grown and grown and grown, where you've got grown men phoning into radio stations, not watching the games, removing factual content, making premature conclusions, ripping into their own team when they're in a bad moment. But it's early in a season where there is no suggestion, no evidence that Liverpool are not going to turn this round as of yet. And they're already throwing players under the bus. For me, the banter economy is rotting people's brains, because if you've watched him in his opening games, I'm not going to sit here and gaslight you and say he was amazing, because I know that's already been typed in the comment section. I know it's there. I already know it's there. No one is saying he's been world class. Nobody is saying he's been the best player in the league. Greatest signing ever. Looks like value for money as of right now. No one is making that claim. But the idea that he's been absolutely horrendous in every capacity, doesn't have any GA, hasn't created anything, done nothing in the games is wrong. At the moment, he is struggling. Liverpool are struggling. But I don't think there is any indication that he's not going to be able to work in this league yet. I do think he's got to put on a couple of extra kilos of muscle, and he's probably got some kind of weight training program going on. He needs some time to adjust. But we have got to learn to be a little more patient as fans. We have, in my personal opinion, got to do it, because I think the only people we end up hurting are ourselves, because I think it shrinks the conversation around the game, which is important. And I think we end up damaging and hurting our own football clubs in these scenarios. But as ever, my people, listen, so much love, so much respect for you guys tuning in. I know you don't all agree with every opinion I have, and I love that. But leave your comments below. Let me know what you agree with in this content, what you disagree with. Things also I'd love to know is things you'd like us to do differently when it comes to our panel shows in terms of the question and conversations that we have. And look, as I said at the start, I know that I am not guilt-free in this. I would never sit there and claim to be. And that's why I wanted to make sure I said that multiple times in this video. So if you guys hear people calling me out, oh, Terry does this though, Terry does that. I'm admitting these things. I know I'm not always perfect, especially when I'm speaking about something I'm very emotional about. You can always have the blinkers come down a little bit. But I think we've got to start doing better in this space. Hit that like button, please. Make sure you're sharing and subscribing. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.